Let's go, it's the Whitey Show. Whitey Show. Whitey Show. Whitey Show. Whitey Show.
Which one, old man, that ain't got time to shake your hand? Get that style check, put it in pockets like it's back, going downtown.
So as I start this review real fast, I just wanted to go over that. We'll show a mix of footage in the game, thanks to my friend being able to get direct footage, thanks to his 3DS being able to do that. But I'm also going to show some clips of me actually playing the game on the 3DS. So it's going to be a little bit of mix, just so you get the idea. Huge fan of Castlevania. I'm even actually playing Lords of Shadows right before my review copy came. So I'm a huge fan of Lord of Shadows. I loved it, and I'm really excited to play this. So let's get into the review of Castlevania Lord of Shadows Mirrors of Fate. I don't know why they had to add Lord of Shadows. We know it's Lord of Shadows. But anyway, and there's that sexy Gabriel. Man, so say, okay, here it comes. If you beat in Castlevania Lords of Shadow, you will have an idea of how this title is going to start. Gabriel is now the one we call Dracula, and he has declared war on the Brotherhood and basically will kill anyone who stands in his way. The main protagonist of this title is Trevor, Simon, and Alcud. You know, I can never say his fucking guy's name. I'm just going to call him Al. Simon being the first character you control and taking up a good portion of the title. In the first few minutes, you find out Gabriel had a son. Trevor then had a son. Simon is now left with the task of killing Dracula after both his parents were killed. However, all is not what it seems, as the mysterious follower named Alcord, I'm just going to call him Al, shows up, and then we begin to have the full plot of the story. The gameplay ties to basically mix the brutal and heavy combat feel of Lords of Shadows with its great atmosphere and design, but making it more about exploring. Kind of like the old 2D games. It's a 2D side-scroller mixed with 3D backgrounds and areas. You'll be able to watch in full glory as Simon, Trevor, or Al finish enemies off with awesome-looking effects similar to Lords of Shadow. Each character uses a chain-like weapon, and then each of them has their own secondary tools such as flasks and bats and other cool stuff I don't want to mention because it's so cool, but it's spoiler. So it comes down to this. This is the sequel of Lords of Shadows, prequel of Lords of Shadows 2. It's the in-between game. Does it live up to one of my favorite action games ever, Lords of Shadows, or is it just okay? Well, let's find out. Boom.
Which one, old man, that ain't got time to shake your hand? Get that style check, put it in pockets like it's back, going downtown.
Most times my favorite section is to do the good. So we're going to start off with that, and there's quite a lot. Hold your seats. First off, the plot really grabbed me in Lords of Shadows. The first half was a little slow on the plot, but by the end I was hooked and I wanted more. We know Dracula now is Gabriel, and we got Gabriel's story. And we even got a little bit more of him in this title. However, we get to learn quite a lot about the faith of his son Trevor and his grandson Simon. And Mr. Al. Let me just say that I love Simon. He's a badass motherfucker. I also really like Trevor, and especially his twists and turns in his story. I also will note that this is a sad tale. The Belmont family just never really catches a break, and it's no different here. Graphic-wise, the 3DS produces some stunning-looking graphics on a handheld. The flow of it all from the attacks and effects look great. The finishers look kick-ass, and most of the environments look goddamn stunning for a 3DS title. I really have no complaints on the graphics and love the atmosphere and design and almost everything about this title in terms of graphics. Now, the gameplay. This is what people want to know. I loved Lord of Shadows, but plenty older fans did not. Konami here seems to want to mix what people liked about the older titles and add enough of the new elements of Lords of Shadows to create a mixed gameplay. I personally feel that they succeeded on almost all fronts. First off, let's talk about the combat. It's swift, flows great, and it really can be fucking challenging. I mean, ripping your hair out challenging. I've died on one boss like 10 times before I finally kicked his ass. Now, playing the demo was a good representation of the game, but it wasn't a great one. In the final game, it flows much smoother and feels more responsive instead of floaty. You'll basically use Y and X for most of your attacks, mixing them up and using some great looking combos, stunning enemies, and then grabbing them to finish them off with the R button. I also would like to say that each and every character has their own secondary weapons, such as Simon having 2 spears to help him in fight, one actually that blocks attacks and the other shooting bows. He also has flask and axes to use, while Al has his trusty bats to stun enemies and even phases through guys like Vapor. It's fucking sick. The exploring is much bigger this time around. Trying to find treasure boxes in big open areas to gain more health and magic is very important. Finding scrolls and they give you XP is also really important and actually levels up your character to unlock new moves. And just exploring the different areas to a T to fill up all those little empty boxes on the bottom of your 3DS screen, well, it's kind of an addiction. So if you missed the adventure and finding stuff in the originals, and you didn't get it really much in Lord of the Shadows, it's returned here. I love the bosses in this game. They are challenging, fun, and remind me so much of Mega Man, it's not even funny. Because this time around, you can seriously whoop their ass like Mega Man. Yet, the first few times, you'll probably get your ass whooped. Why? Because you gotta fucking figure out the strategy. They are fun, challenging, and oh so much fun to finish because goddamn the finishers look good. Platforming is a bit hit or miss. When it flows, it's a lot of fun. Swinging and climbing stuff is a lot more apparent in this game as well as the last one. Now, let's talk about the bad. Let's talk about the other half of the platforming. Sometimes performing some moves is a bit odd, especially climbing. You have to press up and jump to go up. That makes sense. But when you're trying to get to the top and you get to the very tippity top and you try to press jump again, you will actually jump off instead of climb up. It's very odd. It's weird. It's just an odd control. Another thing that springs to mind is the characters fight very similar. It's a little sad to see because I thought they were all going to fight very different. Sure, the controls are tight and fun, but the fighting similar takes away from some of the awesomeness that could have made each character unique. However, with that, what makes them unique is they all have their secondary skills, and you're going to use them quite a lot, especially in boss battles. The only other bad thing I can honestly see is the fact that you are playing on a 3DS. Now, before you fanboys jump to your crazy-ass conclusions, let me state, making some of the controls a bit odd and making your hand cramp because you will use every single button on the machine, meaning dodging is L, and that might actually cramp your hand because it did a couple of times after playing 2-3 hours in a row. I would have liked to customize my own controls a bit, but honestly, hey, I got used to them. I'm just saying they're nothing like Kid Icarus, so don't worry too much. A little poke. There's really no ugly feature in this game. I just can't think of any. There's just nothing. Nothing ugly about this game.
Waits for no man and ain't got time to shake your head. Get that style check, put it in pockets like it's back. Going downtown.
And the verdict is in. The verdict is in. And the verdict is pretty easy to see here. I actually recorded it in person, but before I get to that, real fast, I want to just cover little facts real fast. This game is about 8 hours, but actually it's a little bit, actually more than 8 hours. I'm saying 8 hours minimum here. I'm going to be honest. Plus, there's harder difficulties and exploring to do. So there's a nice amount of content. So without further ado, let's see if this game is a pass, a rent, a buy cheaper, or a must fucking buy. Okay, so I highly recommend Castlevania Mirrors of Shadow. Castlevania Lords of Shadows Mirrors of Fate. Despite the long ass title, it is a well-made game, and I do enjoy Symphony of the Night a lot. I did enjoy some of the Game Boy Advance ones, not all of them, and the DS ones were okay. But this one is truly the one I enjoyed so much. It is a must buy. I want you to pick it up right now. I highly recommend buying it. Here it is. Mirrors. Castlevania Mirror of Fate. Castlevania Lord of fucking Shadows. Why'd it have to be so long? That's what she said. Yeah, Lords of Shadows Mirror of Fate. Totally worth the money. Totally worth it. Go pick it up. Go pick it up alongside Tomb Raider. I'm sure that's going to be worth it. Check out that review coming later this week. Pick this game up if you have a 3DS. If you don't have a 3DS, you're missing out on some of the best games. Anyway, pick this shit up. Must motherfucking buy. Castlevania. Like, whoosh, you know, I just love that shit. I love that. Whoosh. I mean, how... The main character whips your ass with a whip! That's all I gotta say. Okay. Have too much fun with this shit.